Tell me your stories. I'll do my best to understand you.
And welcome to Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and I thank you so much for joining us on the program. We are going to just jump right into our guest and our subject matter for today, because I think it's very important, because it affects all of us, because any one of us, and some might even say all of us, may end up in this situation regardless of age. But we're going to talk about the issue of homelessness, but from a very particular perspective. That's right. We're going to talk about it from the perspective of the youth of our country in particular. We're going to discuss an organization. It's called Doors of Change, and we are with the president of Doors of Change, Jeffrey Sitcov. And I want to thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Thanks for having me, Richard. We appreciate it.
This is probably ranking right up there with trying to solve the problem of nuclear proliferation that we face in our time. And this has been going on not just for decades. Obviously, there have been people who have been homeless over the centuries, depending upon which country and which era, which century, and so forth. But we're not going to talk about all of that, because we're talking about the here and the now. And there are people out there on the streets, young people. What ages are we really focusing on, that Doors of Change really focuses on?
It's called transitional age youth, the TAY youth we call them, from 17 to 25 years old.
Okay, so we've all been there. Those of us who are over 25, we've all been in that age group. And it can get very scary, especially if you come from, and maybe I'm wrong about this, Jeffrey, correct me, especially if you come from an unstable home as opposed to a stable home. Why would you leave a stable home setting and so forth? And that's not always the case where you leave. Sometimes you're forced out. Talk to us about the people that are on the streets today, the young people in that age group.
Sure. That age group, they don't want to be homeless. Because, for one day on the streets, okay. After that, it's very difficult. It's very dangerous. The problem is that they get kicked out of their house if they're LGBTQ kids. 40% nationally of the 3.5 million homeless youth in America today are LGBTQ. We see about 60%, Richard, of our youth that we work with are LGBTQ. But also, if they're just come from very dysfunctional families, their parents are alcoholics, their parents are drug addicts. It's not safe for them to be in the house. It's actually safer for them to be outside than in their house, which is pretty sick.
I can agree with that. I am, I guess, one of the fortunate ones. I grew up in a rather fine middle-class home. Not quite Norman Rockwell, mind you, but pretty close. Didn't have any real estrangement in the family. We certainly do come from different perspectives. I found that out when I went back to Phoenix for my sister's memorial. But you know what? They're still my siblings. It doesn't matter. I set that aside. And we're all adults now. We're all making our own living. So we're kind of, I don't know if you want to say we're safe. But the thing that we hear often, Jeffrey, is that our children are our future. Now, usually that's referring to the younger set, even below, the single-digit years, maybe the preteens and teen years. But the reality is that it's the people that are growing up from 17 to 25. They're being formed. Their perspectives are already being formed by the way in which they're living their lives. And more of these kids, if I can refer to them as kids, I'm 61, so I guess I can, they're supposedly our future leaders. And we've heard the great success stories. I know you have, Jeffrey, of people who have lifted themselves up by their bootstraps, and they've come out of this and so forth. But there are a lot who don't survive. What's if I might ask, if you have any statistics on this, what's the mortality rate of this age group on the streets?
Well, what I can say is this, is that the biggest reason these youth are on the streets, once they're on the streets, is they don't trust anybody, Richard, and they don't ask for help unless they trust you. So it's very hard for them to get off the streets when they don't trust anybody. And so the biggest thing is you have to create trust very quickly with them. It usually would take 6 or 9 months to develop trust with typical outreach in the United States. It's 6 or 9 months. That's too long because they die of drug overdose, of suicide, or of gang violence. Those are the 3 biggies that take them. And so what we found is that music and art is the key to building trust very quickly. I brought a blues group into the shelter for one night. This was 20 years ago. The kids were so excited about that blues group. They were jumping around, having a great time. I said, these kids love this music. The next day, I started the music and art program. It's been going for over 20 years. And we find that's our secret sauce, Richard. As far as how many mortality rate, I don't know what that is, but I do know that we'll save a lot of kids. If we can develop trust quickly with them, we give them hope that they can be in an environment that's safe, number one. They don't have to worry about, being jumped or whatever when they're in our class. We have an award-winning music and art program. They keep coming back. We had 8,300 visits to this program from transitional age youth because they felt safe. And they, learned one of 8 instruments. And we incentivize them because they feel bad about themselves. They've been told that they're a piece of garbage. They're going to rot in hell. They've been told all this stuff by their parents. But yet when they learn it in a guitar, a mandolin, a ukulele, a violin, when they learn a couple chords and they can actually master something for the first time, it really helps their self-esteem. It's like, whoa, I can do something. I was told I was garbage, but look at, I'm actually able to play the mandolin or the ukulele or whatever it is. And so that's the beginning of them starting to trust and also starting to have more self-confidence. And by the way, we give them incentive that they come for 6 classes, they can earn. We don't give it to them. They have to earn it, an instrument of their choice or art supplies. And almost 453 youth earn instruments already. And when we give it to them, they cry, they hug us, they say, no one ever comes through with their word. You said you were going to do it, and you did it. No one does that. So, we're teaching them how to live with integrity, how to live, to be successful, how that people do care for them, that with hard work, they can succeed. We've had many youth succeed at high levels because they've taken our hand up and really, really used it.
That goes right to the heart of what you just said a few moments ago, trust. And when one gives one's word, our systems, our institutions, even to us adults who are over 25, don't trust the institutions, whether it's governmental, educational, religious, economic, and the list goes on. You just when you think that you are following all the rules and and all of that kind of thing, and then somebody else doesn't follow the rules and it seems like they get away with it, and then it's like, okay, well, what the heck? Why shouldn't I? And granted, I am a very optimistic person, Jeffrey, very optimistic. I like to think that there's as one of our programmers loves to use the song, there's a better day coming. I'd like to think it were today. But I shared with someone in a moment of, I guess you might say, some frustration, anxiety, despair. As a 61-year-old, we've heard about all of these people getting arrested and caught up in the judicial system who actually were innocent. And I told this one guy, says, you know what? If that happened to me, I just throw up my hands and take me. I got 3 meals and a cot. I don't care anymore. I won't have to pay taxes. I won't have to worry about bills. I'll have a place to live. Hopefully I live to a ripe old age in there. I won't get to do my podcast and my program and interview people like you, but you know what? And it was just a moment of frustration. That's got to be where a lot of these kids are. It's like, what's the point? I'll go ahead and take that cocaine or smoke that thing that could very well, and we have a big problem in this country, have fentanyl in it that will kill them now. Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing there are a lot of people like that, aren't there?
Yeah, fentanyl is a real issue now in the streets. It used to be heroin, meth, now it's phenethyl. And when these kids take the drugs, the hard drugs, they're so out of it, you can't really work with them.
Yeah.
But thank goodness that we keep hope alive with a lot of kids. We've actually helped over 10,000 youth over 20 years, and 2,300 of the youth we got into housing, long-term housing, and self-sufficiency. So those are the youth that we really focus on, is who wants to help themselves, who wants to have a better life. It's going to have, it's going to cause a lot. You're going to have to work hard, but if you work hard, you can succeed. And I've got some success stories that, I think it's important if your listeners will hear or see a success story, they can say, hey, listen, it is possible. These kids, because by the way, they're the most underfunded of the whole homeless population, the transitional age youth, but they're the most likely to succeed of breaking the cycle of homelessness because they haven't been on so long. They haven't been so bad for so many years on the streets with alcohol, drugs, or, just mental illness. And so we see the biggest successes in this age group, 17 to 25.
That's very interesting, and I want to continue this conversation. We're talking with Jeffrey Sitcov. He is the president of the organization down in San Diego called Doors of Change, and we're going to talk about the continuation here of TAY, and that acronym. Tell me once again, that acronym stands for, you just said it, and I should have remembered it.
It's Transitional Age Youth.
Transitional age
25
and 17 to 25, and we're talking again with Jeffrey Sitcov. I'm Richard Dugan. This is Tell Me Your Story. We are bringing you new paradigms for a new world here on the program. We're trying to give you choices and knowledge of those choices, and the TAY group that we're talking about here, Jeffrey Sitcov is my guest. They don't think they have a lot of choices, do they, other than just the street?
Yeah. There really aren't a lot of choice for them because they have such abuse. For instance, Justine, when she joined, when she went on the streets, she was 12 years old. What would a 12-year-old girl be going on the streets? Because her mother was an alcoholic. Her mother's boyfriend used to beat her up, drag her by her hair, and then he started taking her clothes off. And when he started taking her clothes off, she goes, I've got to leave. And she went on the streets. She actually shaved her head, Richard, joined a gang, was with a gang for 4 years. When I met her, she was on suicide watch for 6 months, which is very long time for a 16-year-old. She wouldn't even look at me in the eye for 2 months. But she said after 2 months, she said, I want to learn how to play music. She looked at me for the first time I'll never forget, it was 20 years ago. We started our music program with her. And then she said to me, can I go into the expressive arts program? And when we did that with her, she soared like an eagle. She didn't realize she had any art experience or any talent. She became so successful in her art, she started making jewelry. And that was her ticket to pay for her housing and her school for 10 years. And this is when she started actually feeling better about herself. She was 16 years old, okay? And you can see she actually is dressed in black. She was always dressed in black. But through all the, working hard of making her jewelry, going out and selling it, going to school, etc. She went to City College. Then she went to Santa Barbara, University of California at Santa Barbara, graduated magna cum laude. And now she's in law school. Okay.
Wow.
She's 32 years old. And she's in law school and she's got 2 semesters left and she's done as an attorney.
Wow. That is one heck of a turnaround. And she made those choices. Nobody made those choices for her. However, somebody, your group, Doors of Change, gave her the opportunity to make new choices. And it seems as though music, and we've talked about this many times on this program, it's like a portal to a better life. It doesn't mean you're going to be a rock star making millions of dollars, but it sort of opens up your soul. Now, I don't know about you, Jeffrey, but I have been involved with music all of my life. My parents instilled it in us. We used to Christmas carol around the neighborhoods every year. There's a family of 8 here, okay? So we had a choir. I was a part of a musical group in grade school and in high school. I joined a chorus group here in Santa Barbara. My sisters, all musical. My eldest sister, who just passed, had asthma as a child. What instrument do you think she took up? The French horn. Who does that? Who takes up the French horn that needs air? Who has asthma? She actually made second chair French horn in the Scottsdale Symphony Orchestra, probably 2014, 2015. That's how good she was. Music seems like it's the key. And yet, we seem, especially in our educational system, to push kids away from music. If the budget's too tight, what gets cut?
Yeah.
The music and so forth. Tell me about some of the other success stories. Give us at least one more before we pause here for another piece of information. As far as someone who was introduced to music, and I will also ask, is there an opportunity for them not just to play music, but maybe even to write their own song? It seems like the songs that really resonate with people are those that come from one's own heart and soul and life experience.
Sure. Yeah, these youth can write their own songs. They played in our group, with several other youth in our program for many, many years. But I'll share a story about Tyler. So Tyler right here, heavier-set kid, was homeless from 12 to 16 also because his mom was a meth addict. She loved him, but she was a meth addict, so she went through all of her money. He lived under the pier from 12 to 16 years old by himself. And when we finally found him and he came into the shelter, the first day he came in, we actually had the music program that night. It was Tuesdays and Thursdays. So the Tuesday night that he came in, and we gave him a guitar in his hand for the first time, never played it before. After that one class, Richard, he did not let the guitar out of his hand for 2.5 months. He literally went everywhere he walking around, he had that guitar with him. He just loved it, just kept, playing it or whatever. And, that really helped his self-esteem. And what happened is he came to me and said, I want to learn how to be a security guard. Will you pay for my guard card? It was $400 at the time. He was such a giver to other youth that he actually taught them guitar. He came back there after he got out of the shelter and actually showed kids how to do guitar. Took him 2 hours one way to get there, each way as a volunteer to come back to teach other youth that were homeless. We got him the guard card. He actually he joined Elite Security, which is the largest security system in San Diego. They have 2,000 employees. He went up the scale, just kept just getting better and better and better, became a supervisor. And then a supervisor. He was in charge of the Del Mar Fair. They have a huge fireworks on the 4th of July. He was in charge of the fireworks. Okay. This guy continued to do well. He was honored at Petco Park where the Padres played for Employee of the Year in front of 25,000 people. That's him. I got a picture. Let me show you.
All right. We're talking with Jeffrey Sitcov. He is the president of the Doors of Change, doorsofchange.org.
There's Tyler again, a little older.
Mm-hmm.
So those are just a couple stories. And, if people are touched by this, Richard, if they don't take action, it doesn't mean a damn thing. So if you're touched by this, please go to our website, doorsofchange.org. Doors is plural. Doorsofchange.org. Look at the different videos of the kids speaking and telling their stories. Look at the musicians that have backed us: Elton John, Billy Joel, Santana, Springsteen, The Who, the Eagles. All these groups have signed memorabilia for us because they believe in our vision and what we're doing, and make a donation. Whether it's $10, $20, $100. We have a thing called the Angel Team that for $11, and 11 means angels. So if you, for $11 a month, it's $132 a year. You can give automatic payments. and you become part of the Angel Team. The California Angels gave us that to be able to trademark. We trademarked the name Angel Team. We're the only organization they have ever let through with that name because it had to do with homelessness for youth. So, I just want to remind people that we're educating them about this issue. If you're touched, please help us so we can get more kids off the streets, especially during COVID, because we actually are helping twice as more kids now than we did before COVID. We in 2020, we put into housing 83 youth. Last year, 161 youth we helped house and get off the streets. So, I mean, that's double the amount of kids in 1 year. And obviously we have to pay for this and we need supplies. So it's so important. We're getting results with these youth. Help us so we can get these kids off the streets and they'll be productive citizens instead of being, taking up and having trouble with the police and, having problems with their health and getting taken away by an ambulance. This is a way they can be productive citizens and give back.
Jeffrey Sitcov is my guest. Doorsofchange.org. Doorsofchange.org. We will be linked to that website as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and we are talking about one of the most difficult problems to solve. At least it seems that way. Jeffrey Sitkov's my guest. Jeffrey, is it that hard to solve? Because the next part of this question has to do with the other age range of homeless people. We've got them here in Santa Barbara on our main street, State Street, which is here in Santa Barbara. And I am torn between what I have done. I will tell you what I have done. I have gone through my closet to get rid of a bunch of shirts that I don't wear anymore. And they're perfectly good shirts, okay? They're obviously used. I'll put them in a paper bag or plastic bag, and we have a system here, I guess, here in Santa Barbara where if you leave it out on the curb, some homeless person will come along and take them. Yes, there are facilities where you can go to give them there. But a lot of these folks, they don't want to go to a brick and mortar building. They're afraid of doing that because of what might happen inside. Because, I don't know, maybe there's an element of fear due to their own trauma, their own abuse. I hesitate giving money because I'm afraid that they will just use it to buy drugs or alcohol, which isn't going to help them. By the same token, if I don't give it to them, somebody else will. But I don't know. Some say, hey, look, if it's your intent to be kind and generous to them, then it's not up to you as to what they do with it. What they do with it is up to them. But I don't know. I just feel as though there's a responsibility there in that respect. If somebody's hungry, I'll go into the McDonald's, which we have, and I'll buy several hamburgers or give them the bag. Hey, here, share with some of your friends or enjoy, what have you. And I know that's short term and all of that stuff, but what about the rest of the homeless population out there? How I realize yours is for the TAY and from 17 to 25. But is there an effort to expand the Doors of Change to include the rest of the homeless population, maybe at a different facility or what have you?
We have a big enough issue just dealing with the youth. I mean, there's a couple thousand youth that are homeless in San Diego alone, the transitional age youth, a couple thousand, right? So we got enough work to work with the transitional age youth. And I'll tell you something, when people give and they say, what's the biggest bang for your buck can you get for a donation? What's the biggest, to me, it's working with the younger kids that will have a chance to break the cycle so that they can have a better life. I cannot work with the older homeless because they've been in it for so many years, Richard, it's almost impossible to get them off the streets. Where the younger youth, there is a chance, there is hope that they can have a better life. They're not so messed up. And so I would give the younger and older people, give them fruit, give them apples, bananas, that kind of thing, or any kind of food. That's what I give them, and water. Mm-hmm. They need water because they dehydrate. Mm-hmm. So you give them water and you give them fruit or whatever, a bag of apples, whatever in the car, just give them to them. That'll keep them alive. And it's more healthier for them. But as far as we're not going to expand to do with older adults, because this is such an issue that just the youth alone is enough to deal with right now.
Right.
That's all we have the time to do. And that's where you're going to get your biggest bang for your buck, is working with these kids, because they can turn their lives around.
Would you say that the pride amongst this age group, 17 to 25, isn't the issue? It is the issue of trust, not pride. Whereas the folks who are older, it's a lot of cases there's pride involved.
Yeah, trust is number one.
Number one is
trust. Pride is not as much of an issue with this age group. It's the trust of, and also their survival mode. Mm-hmm. It's like, how do I get off the streets? But I don't trust somebody to ask them, So they're really a conundrum. They don't know what to do. And that's why when they find us and they're looking, hey, are they going to take advantage of me? And they go in and there's 20 other kids or 30 other kids, or we've had up to 40 kids having a good time. It's like, wow, they're actually enjoying this. There must be something good about this. So we're focused specifically for 20 years on youth. That's it.
So 2002 is when you...
2001.
2001. How, for your part in this, how did you personally not just get involved, but become concerned enough to get involved?
I'm the founder. So I take a lot of pride and I'm very proud that, I was blessed to have the ability to be able to be the founder of this organization. It started it from zero. Mm-hmm. I got involved because I'm a healer by profession. I'm a physical therapist for 18 years. I had a spinal cord injury 22 years ago, and I had to stop my profession. And I kept saying, what am I going to do? Am I going to feel sorry for myself or help others? And I kept back to going to helping others, helping youth, because they're the ones that need the most help. I felt they're the ones that no one was helping. And I saw that, I wanted to see what I could do to help youth make better choices for themselves. They're making the wrong choices. Columbine happened, the Santee shooting, all the escalation of violence. That's when I started this.
It seems also that there is, and I've talked with people about this, a real issue when it comes to, this is a specific area, proper nutrition. I've talked with a lot of health professionals and folks over the years on this program, and we have talked about the fact that in order for the body to function normally, if you want to call it that, I'll just use that word, to where the brain has the capacity to process information in such a way as to be able to make positive, thriving choices for the self. It has to take in the right kind of fuel, all right? Now, if you don't put in the right kind of fuel, and I've used this example, the human body has its own pharmaceutical company, all right, that makes all of its own drugs or chemicals. I'll call it the chemistry. If you're not putting in the right stuff, it can't make the right chemicals to give you the things that you need to function in such a way, again, that you can process information coming in through your senses in such a way that you can make sense of it, that you can think logically and so forth. Does that seem to be also a real issue from your perspective when it comes to the youth? Because if they've left home, they ain't eating right. I'm almost certain of that.
Well, I think that,
and they're still developing.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Richard. These kids are on survival mode.
Right.
Okay. And they might not eat for 3 days. So I think it's kind of like right now, whatever they can eat to survive until they can find a place where they can trust to be able to get the services they need to be able to get off the streets. It's that kind of thing. I mean, the other stuff, doing this 20 years, I never thought about that because, again, these are survival kids. These kids, they're blessed if they go through the garbage cans, they find things, whatever, they find food in different ways. But right now, we got to gain their trust. Mm-hmm. So they'll want to say, I need this, and this. And then we get them those services. and I want to get housing. And we give them these services because all the kids don't want housing right away. They don't trust enough.
Right.
But, so yes, it makes sense to be able to eat properly and eventually. But right now, the survival mode is the most important thing. Is just I need to survive my life, and whatever I eat something, whatever it is, for me to be able to survive from day to day until they find organizations like ours, and then they can kind of then elevate themselves to wanting more.
Jeffrey Sitcov is my guest, president of Doors of Change. Doorsofchange.org is the website. As we continue talking with him here on Tell Me Your Story, I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and we are talking about an issue that it doesn't just plague San Diego, and I am assuming by virtue of what we've been talking about that your organization, Doors of Change, is predominantly metropolitan San Diego based.
That's correct until COVID. And after COVID, we've now been helping youth in 13 different states. They get to us through Facebook. They've heard about us through friends that they meet on the streets, contact Doors of Change. So we have kids calling us from all over the country, asking us, I want to find, where can I sleep safe in my car? Where can I find a shelter? Where can I get medical attention? Where can I get, my ID so I can get a job? All these different questions. And our case manager in San Diego will talk to 13 different states right now and help youth in different areas. So most of our stuff is San Diego, but the last 2 years, we've been reaching out and helping many different areas.
That's rather extraordinary considering the fact that most people contracted, and kind of closed off. But you folks expanded, and that's quite remarkable during what I like to refer to as the COVID era. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, all eras have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's not permanent. So we hope that you'll keep that in mind. Let me ask you, do you have any... I know you're looking for donations, and we certainly encourage people to go to doorsofchange.org to support. Become an angel and donate $11 a month. I think that you have convinced me, and I will, following this program, go onto your website and set up autopay for a measly $11 a month. It's not much, but you know what? When you start combining it, it really starts to grow. But do you have? I know you're not going to name names. I don't want you to. But do you have any large benefactors who are helping to support you?
Yes, we're very blessed that after 20 years, people watch you, and then when they see you come through with your word and you do the right thing over and over and over, and you get the success stories, that we have many organizations that are helping us. We have a concert coming up that if people love music, you talked about, they can drive from Santa Barbara to San Diego for Three Dog Night, which is an award-winning, they're Grammy nominated twice, group that's actually doing a concert for us on June 30th outside. So it's COVID safe. This is great. They have 20 songs in the top 40. They have a lot of very big hits, for our age group. Yeah. But it's the way that people can go and support what we're doing, help the kids. You're going to hear 2 youth speak. And the one that's going to be speaking just before Three Dog Night, she's amazing. Her name is Nikki Johnson Houston. She was homeless from 12 to 16 years old, twice actually. She then went to school, went to law school, got her law degree, she has her own law firm. And last year she was Ms. Universe, African-American, amazing. She's going to be speaking at our event to show what is possible. She's a role model for ex-homeless youth.
You know what I would love to see? I would love to see in the White House in the coming years, one of your kids sitting in that position of power, knowing where they came from and what is happening to our country and our people. I know that a lot of people are saying, too, that COVID has created a lot of homeless people because they couldn't work, so they had no money, and they couldn't pay the mortgage and all of these different things, this domino effect, and now they're on the streets with their kids who may be younger than 17 or maybe 17 to 25. It's and I had a conversation not long ago with someone who just, and I don't want to denigrate this person's perspective, but they were so wrapped in the flag, I was surprised they could breathe, saying how great this country is. And I'm going, do you not see? I wasn't trying to be totally negative, because yes, this is a great country, lots of opportunity. But do you not see the problems? Don't blame them. Give a solution. Don't tell me that all of the homeless are mentally ill and it's their problem. And a lot of these people don't want to get off the streets. It may be true. It may not be true, because I'm not there. What I do know is we've got some issues that we need to deal with, and we need answers, not, trying to explain it away, and that's why we're not helping, because they choose to be there, because they're mentally ill and so forth. These kids that you're talking about, and as I said before, they are kids, 17 to 25, TAY, transition, they need answers. You said it, the number one answer, of course, is trust. I get that. But they need answers. They need support. They need to be uplifted and not explained away. And that's what I'm hearing a lot of times when, especially politicians. But you're on the streets right now dealing with these folks. They don't care about what the politicians say. They don't care what maybe Governor Newsom or President Biden or anybody else is saying they're going to do. They need somebody to do what they said they were going to do. And that's what you're talking about.
We had a 110% increase in mental health referrals during COVID. It doubled. So for a kid to come and say, I need help, that's huge, because if not, they commit suicide. Yeah. So we actually started a new program called the YES program, the Youth Emotional Support Team, which would give them phones, which they can do telehealth. So they can, with psychologists, psychiatrists, MFCCs, MSWs, that they can get therapy or get medication if they need it, because a lot of these youth are mentally ill. They have mental illness. And so they have to be diagnosed properly, put on the proper medication, and be, and seen that really help themselves. And unless they do that, they're not going to succeed in life, some of them. So we really have that for them available if they'd like it.
Well, I want to let you know, folks, that in addition to all of the stuff we've been talking about, Jeffrey just mentioned this a few moments ago. Grammy-nominated Three Dog Night has offered San Diego a special concert of hope for homeless youth, benefiting the Doors of Change, Thursday, June 30th. That's this year, 7:30 to 10 p.m. There's a VIP reception at 5:30 at the Moonlight Amphitheater. It's at 1200 Vale Terrace Drive in Vista, California, which is, I believe it's a suburb of San Diego. And I would encourage you to go to the website, which is Doors of Change, that's plural, doorsofchange.org. And I'm sure there's a place for you to get tickets. And you know what? It'll be fun. I would take the train. All right. I would take the train. I wouldn't drive. Yeah. I'd have fun. I'd take the train early in the morning and I would go down to San Diego, get off there, find a way to get to Vista, and then get on my way to the concert. Celebrating this organization, Doors of Change, is celebrating 20 years of outreach. Pandemic silver linings are found in a new virtual world, and for the nearly 3.5 million homeless youth, 3.5 million that's 3 times the number of people thus far who have died in the last 2 years from the virus and or underlying conditions. It's just amazing. So folks, please do what you can, give what you can, and participate in whatever way that you can. As we continue talking with the president of Doors of Change, doorsofchange.org is the website which we will be linked to. Jeffrey Sitcov is my guest here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and this is, it sounds to me, because there are other communities that are beginning to find ways to help these people, regardless of age. You have chosen and found a specific group, an age group, 17 to 25, that you're getting through to, that are getting through to I don't even want to call it a normal life. What's normal? But to a life of thriving and not just surviving. You said that you have you're connected with 13 other states. I would assume that is it 13 other states nonprofits, or is it with the state organizations that are there to help these young people 17 to 25?
No, it's actually 13 different states of which youth contact us in those communities.
Right.
The youth, and then once they do, we hook them up with organizations close to where they are, and get them the resources that they need close to where they are. Could be Arizona, Florida, could be all over the place.
Not necessarily state organizations, though.
No.
Okay. No. Okay, so these are private, nonprofit, if you will,
right,
who are there supporting and helping, and also are in need of support as well.
Yeah.
Well, I applaud you and the organization for the work you do. You've been doing it obviously for 20 years, and I'd love to see you go out of business. I really would.
Me too.
You know, it seems as though I keep hearing this, especially from politicians, our children are our future. Our future is in jeopardy, ladies and gentlemen, if we don't do something pretty darn quick, because you start seeing the older homeless people, that's where they're headed.
Yeah. 51%, Richard, of the homeless in San Diego downtown, 51% were homeless as a youth.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you about, and I realize this is down the road for many, okay? Because again, the number one is trust. We've established that. Number one, if they don't trust you, forget anything else. All bets are off. But once you have established that trust and you've begun to get them the help that they want, can you talk to me about the spiritual growth? And I'm not necessarily speaking religion here, okay? I'm talking about soul support in terms of them beginning to understand who they really are and their part, and that they have a part in this society, in this population, in humanity. They deserve to be here. We want them here, and we're not putting anything down their throats. Okay, we're not no doctrine and dogma. That's not what I'm referring to. When you get to that point, do they begin to feel like, yeah, I am deserving? Their esteem really starts to come up, and they start to recognize that they are important, that they do have value, those particular aspects.
You know, it's a journey. When let's say they get a job and they maintain a job and they advance in their job, all those stepping stones help their self-esteem, make them feel better about themselves. You know, they start saving for the first time in their life. So we talk about saving quite a bit. You got to save money, you know? And so, but I think it's a process. Remember where they come from. Some of them come from very dysfunctional families, mm-hmm, that you're starting from below zero. So to bring them up and to take them slowly with trust, you have to help their self-esteem, and they do that through becoming self-sufficient. They have to become self-sufficient for them to feel good about themselves long term, or else they're depending on someone. So again, we're always about keeping a job until you get another job. Never quit a job before you get another job. You know, but working as hard as you can, do the best you can. People will watch you. And that's what Tyler did. He worked hard, and he got recognized. So all these stepping stones, as we teach them. And, we're there on unlimited love, and that we don't judge them. And it's really, when you don't judge someone, they can be more themselves, you know? And so that's how we've done this it's love, a lot of love, non-judgmental, and we accept them where they are. Wherever they are, we accept them.
Right. How has the hiring shortage benefited the youth, the TAY, since this whole COVID thing started? Because everybody, I mean, we've got signs outside almost every business along State Street here that says we're hiring, we're hiring, we're hiring, which means that they're short-staffed. Has this helped your organization to get kids into employment?
I'm sure it has to some, but again, until a kid has housing, they really can't have a significant job because they have to clean themselves. They have to be on time. They have to have an address to mail the things to. I mean, there's several things they need, but just having a place to stay is a big thing. So once they do that, then the next step is finding a place to work or finding a place to learn how to do a trade. Or go to school.
Yeah, where do these kids? Where is the housing found?
We have about 35 partnerships in town with organizations that are in the homeless industry that, that they might be older, they might be younger, all different types. So we have, because in the last 2 years with COVID and all the money that was dumped, into California and stuff, there's a lot more housing that's available for some of our partners. One of them has 140 beds. So, and that's all transitional age youth. So when we have a kid that wants the housing, we give them a call. And if there's something available, they'll let us, let this kid go there because they know who we are. They feel good about who we are. And, it's all, that's all possible. Now, all the other ways of housing are we hook them up with family members that are safe. Could be grandparents, could be uncles and aunts, could be an older brother or sister that might be 5-6 years older than them, not the parents. That's the reason they're in this problem is because of the parents. So we never hook them up with the parents. So those are some ways that they can, find a place to live. Also, the California Conservation Corps is one of our partners, and they take the kids up to Northern California, and there's 8 different locations. They could teach them trades, culinary arts, carpentry, salmon restoration, how to do fire, be a fire, and all these things. And they teach them and they pay them full-time, minimum wage, but full-time while they're learning. So these are just some of the ways that these kids can get jobs and housing.
Well, I'll tell you, if we start at that end of the spectrum and we can get these young people back into our fold, so to speak, into our communities, not just quote unquote productive citizens, but that they want to be there, they feel like they belong, and so forth. Then I think we might begin the process of reducing our homeless population over the coming years. But it's going to take a lot of effort on all our parts to do that, and it isn't cheap. Unfortunately, it does in our society. It takes money, and so that's one of the things that we're kind of looking at is trying to help you folks to raise that money. Doorsofchange.org. That's the website, doorsofchange.org. Become an angel, $11 a month. I mean, my God, if you have Netflix, that's $16 a month. Come on.
They can just pay $10 one time. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. We'll take whatever you can get. That's the same way we are here with this program when we're looking for support. We'll take energetic support because we can do that. But you folks, you really need. Can you take other types of donations? Any kind of. Primarily if they're in the San Diego area, certainly. But if someone wanted to, if they had the address of Doors of Change, and they wanted to send, say, a box of clothes or socks or underwear or in good condition, say, shoes and those kinds of things, are those things helpful?
Not now, because we have so many from people during COVID. They gave us stuff. We have a whole storage thing that's completely full of clothes and shoes and stuff. So we don't need those right now.
Okay.
That's why the funds are what we need. And again, we appreciate people wanting to help. Go to the concert, have a great time and go to the concert.
Yep. I'm talking with the founder of the organization called Doors of Change, the website doorsofchange.org. His name is Jeffrey Sitcov, and you are listening to Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and there is a concert for Doors of Change. It's coming up June 30th, and I'm going to tell you about that right now. It's with the Grammy-nominated Three Dog Night. They're offering San Diego a special concert of hope for homeless youth, and it's benefiting Doors of Change, Thursday, June 30th, 7:30 to 10 p.m. There's a VIP reception at 5:30, all taking place at the Moonlight Amphitheater. That's at 1200 Vale Terrace Drive in Vista, California. We certainly hope that you will make it a point to, if you can't go, support them. I mean, if you can't go, buy a ticket anyway. What the heck? Because we would really like to see, if you have kids, how would you feel if Jeffrey was helping your kids out instead of you? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you, Jeffrey. What I'm saying is, let's not go that route. If your kids are home and they're safe and they're secure and they got a nice place to lay their head down and a warm food or what have you on the table and clothes to wear and all of that good stuff, and they're going to school, you should count yourself very, very lucky. Doors of Change would like to introduce you to, again, of course, the president and founder of Doors of Change, and of course, he mentioned some of the young people. Before we wrap up, I would love for you to give us one more success story, if you could, of one of the youth there who has made it through process as we continue. And I'll also let our listeners know that since 2001, Doors of Change has been transforming the lives of homeless youth, one young person at a time. Originally called Photo Charity, the 501c3 has raised over $4.7 million. For more than 20 years, they have helped place over 2,200 homeless youth in safe housing and off the streets. My God, that's a small village or small town. And imagine what they are going to be able to do. You talked about, doctors and lawyers and engineers and all that stuff. Who can you share with us before we wrap things up here?
So the African-American Matt, right where my finger is, Matt was homeless at 16 years old, because his father literally beat the hell out of him for no reason. And he would do that several times. And Matt said, if it happened one more time, I know it's going to kill my father. So he left. And he went on the streets, went to the shelter. He got in our program. He's just doing phenomenal now. This is Matt. He's now graduated from University of Riverside with 2 degrees. Computer science and engineering. He's an engineer working up in Northern California now in Simi Valley, and he's doing fantastic. And he's going to be a father in a couple months.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, Jeffrey, I want to thank you so much for giving us the time here on the program to talk about Doors of Change and, of course, the concert on June 30th, which we will make note of throughout all of our programming of Tell Me Your Story here on the station here, as well as the podcasts, and let people know about the concert right up to the 30th of June. And again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Richard, and I really appreciate it.
I do have 3 final questions that I do want to ask you, but I want to let our listeners and viewers know that you are listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, where we're giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. We're here Sundays at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday mornings at 1 a.m. We are streaming live at those times at richarddugan.com. We also have a 9 a.m. Wednesday broadcast. That's our special edition of Tell Me Your Story. We're podcasting at SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, Blueberry, iHeart, Amazon Music, and many other locations. And we are also on YouTube, where you can watch these interviews and see the pictures of these beautiful people who are coming of age, and they are living among us, making a difference for the better. That's what we're all about here on Tell Me Your Story. We hope that you will support the Doors of Change by going to doorsofchange.org. $10 once, $11 a month. Be an angel, be a fantastic thing to do. We also ask you to spend time going within, listening to that still small voice during this, the decade of perfect vision. And with that, we go to our three final questions. And the first of those three is, who is Jeffrey Sitcov?
Who is Jeffrey Sitcov? Jeffrey Sitcov is a man that had a vision to help homeless youth, and will do this for the rest of his life so we can get kids a better opportunity to live, have a good life.
What is it that you hope to or want to achieve with the work that you are doing now, understanding that you may have answered it in the last answer?
My goal is to have more outlets so that in San Diego alone, we can have more of our Taking Music and Art to the Streets programs, so we can help kids in different areas more, and to keep showing other communities to do what we've done, because it works. It's like a McDonald's template. It works. And so that's what we'd like to do, is continue to help more youth get off the streets.
And our final question, what is your life's purpose?
My life's purpose is to help homeless youth get off the streets. That's my life's purpose.
Jeffrey, thank you again, Jeffrey Sitcov, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to Lal.